What's going on, guys? John with ProCut, and I'm out here with my wife's 2020 Ford Explorer. It has the 2.3 liter EcoBoost inline 4-cylinder turbo, and today we're going to do an oil change on it. The first thing you're going to do is get your ramps out, and then I'm going to pull this vehicle up onto the ramps and I'll show you what's next. The first thing you're going to do once you get it up on the ramps is you got your hood release, and you're going to pull that twice. Now you can go out here. You see we're on the ramps, so you go out here and you open up your hood and put up the prop rod. And you'll notice the prop rod is an oval slot and it's got an arrow pointing toward it. So then you can see your oil filler and dipstick. And I generally like to take the oil filler off and check that, make sure there's nothing going on funny looking in there, everything looks normal and good. And then I also take and just pull the dipstick up to where it's loose in there. So the next thing we're going to do is I've got a ground pad that I use. I've got a oil strap wrench. I've got my 3/8 drive ratchet. You're going to need a 15 mil for the drain plug and a 7 mil for your skid pan or aerodynamic pan, whatever you want to call it. So let's go ahead and get these tools over there and slide the mat under and see what we're working with. Car, you've got a plastic skid pan, and then you've got, it's kind of like a felt skid pan. Now I was missing 2 out of 3 of these bolts on here, but it's a 7 mil. And you'll want to note that the plastic goes over the top of the felt. That's important when you put it back together. And then there's a few more 7 mil bolts, as well as some plastic push pins that have to come out of this to be able to get to your oil filter. All right, so here's the tool you use to take those plastic clips out. You can see it's kind of got a bent fork type deal and a screwdriver handle. And that's how you get those plastic clips out. You use one of the teeth on it to pop up the center portion, and then you get underneath it with the whole thing and just pop it out of place. Works pretty good. So with the skid plates out of the way, you could see your oil filter, you could see your drain plug. I noticed I have a little bit of oil seepage there, it looks like, but what I'm thinking that is just leftover from when it got put back together, because I checked the oil level and it is pretty good. It's a hair low, but I mean it's at its life cycle's end, so I mean it could have burned some being a turbo vehicle. But this is a good example of why you should change your own oil, because you can't always trust other people to do what they're supposed to do, even if it's a Ford dealership, you know. And I'm not saying they did wrong, but I know I wouldn't leave oil like that. I'd wipe it up. So now let's go ahead and get our drain pan, and we can go ahead and get this loose. I've broken the drain plug loose. Now I can get it out of there the rest of the way. There we go. It should be good to go by the hand now. Now that sucker was on there really tight, and again, wouldn't surprise me if these mechanics didn't use a damn air tool to put this on. Okay. There we go. The oils are draining. Black Gold Texas T. Now I've used my strap wrench, so my filter is loose, and I can go ahead and take the filter back off by hand you're going to have a bunch more oil drain out from where your filter was. So just kind of is what it is, just got to let it happen. This is what towels and cleaner are for. Now once that's out, you can go ahead and put that in your drain pan and just continue to let this all drain out until it pretty much stops. And so you want to check your engine block to make sure that the filter gasket from the old filter is not stuck on the engine block, so when you put your new one on, you don't have a double filter. And then if you've watched any of my videos, you know I like to pre-fill my filter. So let me slide out of here. I'll show you what we got going on. This vehicle requires 5W30 weight. It requires 5.2 quarts. And then the Ford filter is going to be an FL910S, but the store was out of them. So I've got a Fram Tough Guard, and the Fram number is a 3614. So let's go ahead and prep our filter and go ahead and put that on, and by then the drain plug will be ready to put back into position and we can go ahead and fill up the oil. One other thing you always want to do when you pre-fill your filter, just dip your finger in some of that fresh oil and go ahead and wipe it around the gasket. And what this does is it really helps that release on your next oil change. And the nice thing about this particular engine is the oil filter goes on vertically, and so the mess is minimal. So if you fill this thing up as much as you possibly can by pre-filling it, you're not going to make a big mess and pour half of your new oil back out onto the ground. And with your oil filter, I always go as tight as I can get it by hand, and then put the strap wrench or whatever wrench you're using back on it and go another quarter turn. And now I have my drain plug back in place, and I'm just going to kind of give everything a little bit of a wipe down before I go ahead and put my other components back up in there, being the skid pan or the you know, the aerodynamic plate, whatever you want to call it. And then from there we can go ahead and top up the oil. Now I've got everything back together. Again, you're going to have a screw here, your clip, a screw, a clip, a screw. The rectangle clips are in here, and then a screw in the corner of the plastic, and then there should be a round clip in the middle, and there should be another screw here, but I've noticed that this screw is actually broken off. So I don't know if maybe we hit something, which I doubt because these other ones aren't broken off. So I'm thinking one of the mechanics broke that off in there. I'm going to have to complain to Ford, and needless to say, I'll be changing the oil in this for the rest of its life, as long as I own it anyway. The next owner may be a different question, but that's all there is to it. Now we're going to go ahead and fill up the new oil. All right, so now I've started the car, backed it up off of the ramps, and I've got the new oil in there. So now you're going to want to check your dipstick. I've already pulled it out, wiped it off, and put it back in. So now I'm going to pull it back out, and then we'll be able to check. And you can see the oil is all the way up. It's actually really high. It still needs to settle down in the engine. And so a little bit later, I'm going to go ahead and recheck this. But for now, let's go ahead on the inside and show you what you have to do. Okay, so now when I started it for the first time after I put the new oil in, I held the brake and the gas pedal. And what this did, it cranks the engine without starting it. And I cranked it for a while to build up oil pressure. And then I took my feet off of the pedals and went ahead and started again. So now we can go ahead and turn the key on. Okay, so what you're going to do now is use your OK button, and you're going to arrow up till you get to the information screen, and then press OK. Okay, and when you're on your information screen, then you're going to press menu, and it comes up and you see your oil life is there. So now press OK, and you can see I'm at 0% oil life. And then I'm going to press and hold the OK button, and now the oil life has been reset to 100 since we've changed our oil and filter, and now we're all set to go about our business and drive for a few more thousand miles until we need an oil change again. Approximately 5 to 10 is usually what you want to do, depending on your vehicle. All right, guys, I hope that helped you out with changing the oil in your EcoBoost. Again, this is John with the ProCut. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. More great videos to come, and check out my library for a bunch more good videos. I appreciate you guys. God bless.